Hello folks, welcome to Versus 5. I am the Custard Prophet, and you're going to enjoy yourself here. This is the recap episode of all of the episode 1s that have been going out last weekend. If you're thinking, what you're talking about episode 1s, let's explain very, very quickly what the Versus 5 is all about. So this is a competition I've been running for a little while. As you can see, we're into incarnation number 5 over 2 iterations of FM, but this one is something a little bit spectacular. I've invited 9 other Football Manager content creators, and they have been split into 2 teams, Team GB, Team Rest of the World, and they're going to go up against each other Ryder Cup style. So one player from each team, one manager from each team going up against each other, taking on an individual challenge. Now, the thing with the versus save is what happens is both creators will play at the same club. They will manage the same club over the course of a single season. And the concept is that whoever gets the most points wins. Now, I just want to briefly go through what the 5 matches are, when you can expect to see them coming out each week, and who is involved. And then we will get into the highlights of those matches. So very quickly, match 1 is United City FM versus Old Lady Plays. They're both playing as Sassuolo, and you can find those Sunday 6 PM on their channels. Match 2 is the 2 captains chasing lamely and avoiding relegation, going up against each other, playing at Los Angeles Football Club, and those episodes can be found on Sunday at 7 PM. Match 3, this is at Standard Liège, and this is Football Manager Maniac versus Leyodemus, and those come out on Friday 6 PM. Match 4, this is at Burton Albion. This is my good self, Custard Prophet, against Bobby G Gaming, and those matches come out Sunday 7 PM. Well, Bobby G's doesn't, but we'll get to that later. And match 5 is Trefellin Boys and Girls Club, the random match set by FM Llama, and this is that Trucking Football Manager against FM Digi, and those will come out on Saturday at 6 PM. All of the creators' links are in the description below, so make sure you go over and check out those ones you're interested in, and then there'll be a recap episode midweek, probably Thursday, because these take some effort to put together. Right then, let's zoom straight into those matches. Let's get into match 1. Right then folks, this is match 1, and representing Team UK is the United City FM, and for Team Rest of the World it's Old Lady Plays. This challenge was picked by Team GB and went for Italy, and the team was Sassuolo, so a kind of mid-table side in Italy, but the challenge was a small club in a big league, which is they kind of fit. So we're going to see how Old Lady Plays is going to get on against United City FM. Old Lady Plays is a fearsome competitor, and so Kev has got his got to battle this out. I think it's going to be hard work to get anything off her, but we have complete faith in Kev. So the transfer budget that this team has is fairly small, about £13 million, so not an awful lot to spend if they want to. Let's have a little look first of all if there was any spending done by both of these creators. We'll start off with Team GB. And Kev bought a couple of players in. First up was Fabio Vieira, this right-sided midfielder. Got him in on a free, and I think he looks a decent signing, fairly fast, good dribbling, good stuff on the ball, and he can pass, and he's got that vision to go with it. So I think he's going to be a really decent midfielder, and he fits into the tactic that's being played. The big transfer for Team GB in this match was this guy, Jean-Pierre Nsame. And this guy was bought for £13 million, so pretty much spamming the whole transfer budget here. This is either going to be a first choice striker or someone who's going to rotate, because Kev thought that the quality of the strikers at the club was not necessarily good enough. But this guy looks pretty good, finishing as 16, heading of 15. You can't really complain about that. Reasonable composure. I mean, he looks a really decent signing. Can take a penalty as well, which is always helpful. Pretty strong also. So there's very little in the way of weaknesses that this player has. So I think this looks a good pickup. In the case of Old Lady Plays, just the single transfer that came in, and this was an Italian signed for 6.5 million with a few extra fees on top. Primarily signed because this guy is a decent defensive midfielder, and that is what she needed for her tactic. 3-star player, potential 3.5-star, but again, this guy looks like he can do the business. He's got a decent pass on him, which is what you want. I always find in those defensive midfielder roles, you don't just want them to tackle, you want them to be able to distribute the ball as well, and this guy can absolutely do that. Decent marking and tackling for a defensive midfielder, and also some pace as well. You don't normally get all of those things in a defensive midfielder, so I think this guy's going to do bits for her. I think 2 decent transfer windows for both of those guys. So let's have a look at the tactics that have been put out. So first of all, we'll start with United City FM. He has 2 tactics. We'll look at the first one and then we'll just tell you about the second one. The first one here is a 4-2-3-1 wide formation. He's gone to a gegenpress. As you can see, we've got Nsame at the top of the pyramid there. The idea here is that he's going to push up high up the pitch, win the ball high, and then counter-attack and score lots and lots of goals. It's maybe a risky sort of tactic to go with, considering that Sassuolo aren't the strongest team in this league, but if things don't work out, he also has a 4-3-3 wide formation using a vertical tiki-taka or custom vertical tiki-taka type style. So the difference there is that you've got your central attacking midfielder in a defensive midfielder role. Now that's exactly what Old Lady Plays has put out. She is going for this exact formation using a gegenpress here, so a slightly more defensive formation. You can see the new signing Cataldi, it fits nicely in there in that defensive line playmaker role. She also has a control possession tactic, which has exactly the same formation. She's going to bring that out late in games if required. Those are the tactics that the 2 creators have put together. Those are the signings as well. Some tough games to come in match 1. Old Lady Plays will be going up against Lazio away from home, whereas United City FM has a relatively easy tie at home against newly promoted Spezia. So we'll see what happens there. Some exciting games. I guess the win, United City FM's win against Spezia, was not really a surprise, but Old Lady Plays away at Lazio, going 2-0 up in the first half and then conceding 3 goals, and that's harsh. That is harsh. The performance was excellent in that first half, and she must think she should have got a little bit more out of that. Well, as things stand, right at the start here. After just one game, United City FM have the early lead with 3 points, and Old Lady Plays still yet to get off the mark. Let's move on to match 2. Right then, match 2. This is the battle of the captains. So for Team GB, it is Chasing Lamely, and for Team Rest of the World, it is Avoiding Relegation. The two fantastic captains facing off against each other, hopefully going to trailblaze the way for the rest of their teams. So both of these captains, they were picked the MLS save, and that's where they are. They are going to be managing Los Angeles Football Club, and things are slightly different for this one. Instead of starting at match day 1, they've actually played the first 6 matches, so you're going to get a bit of a better idea of how things are going in this particular matchup. Obviously, with the MLS comes all of the complications around transfers, registration, and all of those things. So let's have a look at what transfers have been made, or at least have a little think about some of the better ones that have been made. We'll start, I think, with the more comedic of what's got on. We'll go and see what Avoiding Relegation has been up to in the transfer market. It has gone pretty disastrously, to be fair. If you watch his video, you will see that he has signed some players, but due to not registering them and a bunch of other things, a bunch of these players have had to leave. And so the only player I think he's got in at the minute is a backup right back, so it's not looking particularly great. But hold the phone. He has picked up this little fella. You might recognise the name. A certain 37-year-old Carlos Tevez will be arriving in Avoiding Relegation's team very, very shortly. Still, he looks all right. I mean, physically, he's lost a lot of what he used to be, but he still has those technical and mental stats. So, you know, he may well be able to do a job for Avoiding Relegation. We will have to find out. But has Chasing Lamely fallen foul of the registration demands in this league? Well, the answer is no. Let's have a look. A whole bunch of signings have been done, and some really impressive ones at that. This is the pick of the signings we've seen from Chasing Lamely, and it is Samir Nasri. Yes, that Samir Nasri. He doesn't look maybe quite as good as he used to be. 33-year-old at the moment, but still a very effective player at this level. And he's going to do a good job in this league, I think, a really excellent job in this league. But that's not all. There's also been a bunch of other signings. Probably the best of the rest is Papi Djibodji, who is a very good centre back, and there's a couple of others who are looking good. So I think if I was going to pick between the two creators who has done best in terms of signings, Chasing Lamely would be getting that gold star. Tactics wise, this is what AR has been up to. We've seen a very similar tactic to this. And this is a 4-3-3 formation, but with 2 defensive midfielders. So I don't think we've actually seen this. A deep line playmaker and a Segundo Volante just behind an advanced playmaker, which is an interesting formation. Can't say I've ever used that before. Be interesting to see how he gets on with that. In the case of Chasing Lamely, this is what we have. Similar sort of formation. It's a Gegenpress style tactic. It's called a 4-5-1 Gegenpress. I don't think it's really a 4-5-1. 4-1-2-3 maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say, isn't it? I don't know when someone becomes a part of an attacking threat or part of a midfield. Who knows? But this is what has been put together. A lot of instructions, as you can see, passing into space, work the ball into the box. I mean, is that too many instructions? Are the players going to be confused by that? Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see how things start. But let's go on to how those first 6 games have gone for Avoiding Relegation and Chasing Lamely. Well, they've gone quite well after an absolutely torrid pre-season, avoiding relegation. Assumed he was going to be doing very poorly in the league, but as soon as the league kicked in, he got a win over Vancouver and then followed that up with another 3 straight victories. Things haven't gone quite as well in the next few games. A loss to Sporting Kansas City and a draw against DC United have kind of slipped things up a bit, but that's a fair start, isn't it? Amassing 13 points in the first 6 games. I'm sure he'll take that. In the case of Chasing Lamely, again, it was a poor start this time round. Losses to Portland and Sporting Kansas City in the first couple of games, but things have picked up. Wins against Inter Miami, Atlanta United and Chicago have kind of righted the ship somewhat, and 12 points on the board there. So avoiding relegation on 13, Chasing Lamely on 12. So who have they got up today? We're going to be seeing avoiding relegation at home against Los Angeles Galaxy, Chasing Lamely away against New York City Football Club. And there we go, maybe less than comfortable victory from avoiding relegation over Los Angeles Galaxy, but a good win against a decent team there. And also a decent win for Chasing Lamely. 2-0 up and then a red card. Maybe one might start have worried at that point, but another goal sealed the deal. So as things stand, avoiding relegation has a very slender lead over Chasing Lamely by 1 point, 16 to 15. Could go any way at the minute. And let's see what's going on in match 3. Well, this is match number 3 for Team GB. For Team GB, we have the Football Manager Maniac, and for Team Rest of the World, we have Leyodemus. And the team that they are going to be playing is in Belgium, and it is Standard Liège. So Leyodemus, if you don't know, is a Belgian national, so a little bit of an advantage for him, perhaps. Football Manager Maniac is already pushing that one. But saying that, yeah, he doesn't care. He can deal with a handicap and he is ready for this. There's a lot of trash talk being thrown around between these two. It's a lot of fun to watch on Twitter and in the chat group and during the matches as well. So yeah, have a watch to see what they're saying about each other. But two very strong managers going up against each other. And many might say this is the pick of the matches that is out there. So we're playing in Standard Liège, as I said, but Leyodemus does say he doesn't really know the Belgian league all that well, despite living there. So is that an excuse, or is he just kind of trying to pull the wool over Football Manager Maniac's eyes? We'll have to see. I have to find out. So the thing with this challenge is that there is no transfers that can be made. So they are having to go into this blind, and so tactics are going to be really, really important. Now, the two managers have gone to two very different styles of tactics here. One of them has not revealed anything. They've not gone through anything. They have some secret tactic, whereas Leyodemus has gone through his tactics in quite some detail. And he actually has developed two tactics that the the teams are playing. So first up, he has this asserted judo tactic that he has put together and that he's been using in his Stuttgart save. Very good save if you are interested in the German league. He really kind of goes through everything in a lot of detail. You'll learn a lot and it's super entertaining, so go and watch that if you've got some time. But essentially it's a very, very narrow formation. He is trying to play everything through the middle. The width that he does have is provided by his two wing backs, but he's got three at the back there, which I mean, it's an interesting combination of roles at the back, but it's all designed to get the ball back and play through the opposition, and it's working very, very well for him at Stuttgart. His other tactic that he's made specifically for this save, he's called his standard 1.0, and it is a asymmetric 4-4-2 essentially, and it's really designed to put the right players in the right places. There's a couple of players that he was desperate to give their particular roles, so he's designed this tactic to allow him to do that. And again, this is not at all a narrow formation. He's looking to get the width, again using this shorter passing mentality, which I think is characteristic for his style of management. Using the target man in both of these styles of tactics. And as I said, in terms of Football Manager Maniac, we don't know what he's doing. This is all the information that he's provided. So he's got a 4-2-3-1 formation. We don't know what any of those roles are, but this is the team that he put out in his first game. So this is all I can tell you about this tactic, his secret super tactic, and we'll see how well it worked against Juventus. It certainly worked well. Not this particular tactic, but whatever he put out there certainly worked well, and we'll see what works here. I should also say a couple of the key players that they're going to be working with. We've got Zinho van Huysden, who is a ball-playing centre-back, who I think is going to be very important for that solidity at the back. Leyodemus describes him as essentially a wonder kid at age 21. He's a superb young Belgian footballer, and he's getting a few under 21 caps. You imagine if he's that good, he's probably not going to be he's probably not going to be in the Belgian league for that much longer. But a very strong player, good heading, good marking and good tackling attributes, but physically, mentally and technically very, very strong. The other player who is going to be an important one for both of them is this inverted winger, Mehdi Carcella, who is a very decent winger, very, very effective on the ball, going to create chances, pretty fast as well. He's very agile, so he's certainly going to be providing some quality down the right side, and it'd be interesting how he fits in with the formation, the initial formation, or the first formation I talked about that Leyodemus had put together. Okay, so let's go and see how folks got on in their first game. Well, that was very exciting, was it not? It was great to see how both of these managers put things together in their first game, and it was probably a bit of a surprise to everyone involved that Football Manager Maniac performed so incredibly well against a strong Antwerp side, whereas Leyodemus struggled a little bit against Cercle Bruges and relied on a late penalty to win that game. And certainly the first half there was very, very little going on. But that leaves both of them on 3 points, so nothing to choose between them at this stage, and we are going to see what happens when they come back for episode 2. I'm looking forward to that. Well, hello folks, this is match number 4 now, and this is the big one, of course. It's where I, the Custard Prophet, go up against Bobby G Gaming, and we are both going to be managing my club. Well, not my club, but the club that I support, Burton Albion. And as Bobby is a Rochdale fan, he will be trying to do one over Burton, considering in real life Burton just gave Rochdale a bit of a spanking. So yeah, bit of needle going on there. Anyway, Burton, there's not going to be an awful lot of transfer budget available. There's not a lot of wage budget available, so it is going to be free transfers and loans that we're going to have to do here. And if you're wondering where Bobby's episode is, because he's not on YouTube anymore, what he's going to be doing is basically providing the highlights, providing the information, and we're going to be chucking them into these episodes. So you'll get to see his goals and his results and everything else in these little highlights packages. Let's see what transfers have been made first of all. We'll have a look firstly at the transfers that I've made. And it's only 2, one on loan, one on a free. On a free, I've basically got a backup attacking midfielder, Ben Cottrell. You can play on the left and the right. But for me, my big signing was this lad, Connor Shaughnessy, and I cannot say that most of the time, who gives us an awful lot more ability in the central midfield. For me, that was where one of the weaknesses was. We've managed to plug that gap now, which is pretty good. Bobby, on the other hand, again, only a couple of signings. I'll just show you the standout one. He signed in Reddy Khedira from Brighton on loan, who is a winger, can play both sides. But another player, and this is an absolute corker of a signing. Bobby has done well here. Ben Woodburn from Liverpool on loan, and what a player this guy is for a League One level. So yeah, I mean, you look at that, dribbling, a bit of pace. He's not what he was, but he's certainly someone I would like in my team. Can't do it now though, because that would be rude, stealing that. Bobby has had a few injuries though, and I think it's important to say that. He's had a number of his first team players out with broken legs and arms and all sorts of other things, so that is going to be difficult for him to deal with, but we will get to see how his first match has gone on in a second. What's really interesting is that everyone else, their fixture lists have been completely different. For whatever reason, mine and Bobby's fixture lists are exactly the same, so we have the same fixtures. I guess unless cups screw it up or something. So it gives us a proper idea of what's going on. I don't have a tactic for Bobby because he's keeping that secret, but this is the tactic that I've been going with, and it's all about putting the best players that I have in their best positions. Stephen Quinn in that midfield position, particularly important alongside Shaughnessy, and some of the quality players that we've got at the back, and of course Lucas Akins on the right. Wanted to make sure all of these players got into the roles they wanted, so I'm hoping this will work. It seemed to make sense to me, and I know Lucas prefers playing on that right side, but he can play just about anywhere. I imagine, given the amount of attacking midfielders Bobby's brought in, he is doing something very, very similar, with focusing on having a good number of attacking midfielders and probably just one up top. Right then, so the first game of the season for both of us is away against Fleetwood. They are kind of predicted to be a mid-table side in the league. Going to be interesting how the sides have done. I know Bobby's pre-season didn't go particularly well. My pre-season went all right. So let's get into it and see how both of us get on against Fleetwood. Oh dear, oh dear. I mean, both those games started so similarly. 2-0 down early on, and then the comeback began. It just so happened that my comeback stopped and Bobby's just went crazy. 5-2 victory. That is really, really impressive, and I only managed to get a 2-1 loss, so already there is a bit of a gap forming between Bobby and myself. So at the end of this episode, we see that Bobby G is on 3 points and I am languishing behind with not off the mark in 0 points. Let's move on to the final match. Well, hello folks, welcome to match 5, final match, and it's another interesting one. This was picked by FM Llama, so it was our random match, and he went lower league, as you can imagine, to the Welsh second division, where he picked Trefellyn Boys and Girls Club. Everyone's favourite Welsh club, I'm sure. As you will have guessed by now, this matchup will face that trucking football manager from Team GB, who is a bit of a lower league specialist, up against FM Digi for Team Rest of the World. It's a really fascinating matchup, that, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes. Now, both of these guys have had to be busy in the transfer market, because when you get to this club, there is only about 5 or 6 players in the first team. They've got no one else at the club, so you need to do a bit of work to get a team together. We're not going to go through the transfers, don't worry. We're not going to go through them in detail. If you want to see those, go and watch TTFM and FM Digi's video to give you the full rundown. What we will do is say there has been a lot of transfers, and you know, it would be fairly pointless to go through them all. But let's have a look. This is the key man, and he was there at the start of the save. He's a 5-star player, a 4.5-star player, depending on where you're playing him. A central midfielder who looks pretty good. He looks far too good for the level he is at. As you can see, some reasonable attributes there. Really good leadership, and I mean, the 17 in free kick taking in that sort of league would be a bit tasty. Great physical stats, but he's also got sort of reasonable passing stats as well. So for a central midfielder, you've got to think Joe Clark is going to do bits for their team. Now, neither manager managed to sign anyone better than Joe Clark, which is no surprise. But let's have a little look, a broad overview of how their signings compared to each other. We're going to have a look at FM Digi alongside TTFM's first team squad and look at their average ratings. Now, obviously, this may not be the best comparison, and what we can see immediately here is that FM Digi has a much better skin here than TTFM, but, you know, we won't hold that against him. Perusing the star ratings, and, you know, if there have been staff coming in, that may affect what we're seeing here, but what you can see is TTFM does not seem to have recruited quite as well as FM Digi. At the back, maybe at right back, there's a little bit better going on with Evan Lloyd, but yeah, Joe Clark is head and shoulders above everyone else, apart from the centre back Isaac, and that's probably the best player that he's got in there. Looking at the attributes, yeah, it's a little bit dodgy. There's lots of ones going on in there, but I think the key bit here is up top. There's very, very little quality up top, and you look at what FM Digi has got, and you've got to feel that maybe he has done the better business. But we will see. Time will tell. So we go on to see what they've done tactics-wise. So TTFM, his tactic looks like this. It's a 4-2-3-1 wide formation that he's put together himself. It looks very much like many of the tactics that we've seen already. He's using long ball tactics, and you'd think that's probably a sensible move within this club, trying to counter when he loses the ball. So we'll see how this works. I think half the problem is going to get the players to gel so quickly. You've got a whole new team of players to put together. Are they going to gel or not? We'll see. In the case of FM Digi, he has used this 4-2-4 formation. This is a borrowed stroke stolen formation from Fox in the Box. It's he's put that right out there. To me, it looks like a sort of educated hoof tactic. Very, very long balls, but you've got you're trying to make the most of it with the correct use of positioning. So we'll see how well this works in his first game. Quite interested to see if it's a success. So that first game, TTFM is going up at home against Goitre. I don't know where that is, and FM Digi, well, he is away to Pontypridd. Which sounds a difficult game, but we will see what happens. Okay, well, it's an interesting start. Both teams struggled to some degree. FM Digi a much better performance than TTFM. 2-2 draw away against Pontypridd. I don't think that's a bad result, even though they conceded a goal fairly late on to lose to miss out on the win. I think it was still a very good performance. But TTFM in that first half, he was terrible. Second half, much better. But we will see what happens. There's a long old way to go. But as things stand, Digi sneaks ahead on 1 point. TTFM still to get off the mark. Let's wrap things up and see where we are. Well, there we go. That is it. 5 matches down. We've seen how people have started. Some good, some bad. Yeah, some a little bit ugly. But I think each one of those 5 matches looks very good. I don't want to be in this outro bit for too long because I know it's been a long old episode. But let's just recap what has gone on in each one of those matches. So in match 1, we had United City FM against Old Lady Plays managing Sassuolo. Old Lady Plays got a loss there, an unfortunate loss, but United City FM took the lead there, so 3-0 to Team GB. Slightly different in the next match, the 2 captains going up against each other at Los Angeles FC, avoiding relegation, leading that by a single point over Chasing Lamely. In match 3 at Standard Liège, we had the local lad Leyodemus who got a victory just about right at the end, but Football Manager Maniac also with a victory, so they are sharing things on 3 points each. Myself, Custard Prophet against Bobby G at Burton. Bobby G had a very good win, so he is 3-0 ahead after this first game. And the final matchup at Trefellyn Boys and Girls Club, that Trucking Football Manager against FM Digi. FM Digi with a very slight lead over that Trucking Football Manager. It's 1-0. 1 point to 0. So that is how things have lined up. It looks like Team Rest of the World have the advantage at the moment, but it is very early days. In the comments below, please can you let me know what you think the outcome of this is going to be come the end of this, given what you've seen now, given the transfers that have happened, given the tactics that you've seen. Who is going to win this thing? And yeah, make sure if you are interested in any of these matchups, you go over to the channels. That all the information is down below, so make sure you go and check those out and subscribe to these creators. It'll be starting up again tomorrow, so the Friday match, that's Leyodemus against Football Manager Maniac, will be coming out at 6 PM, and then all the way through the weekend we will have more versus 5 matches for you to watch. exciting stuff, and then the recap will be out again Wednesday or Thursday the week after. So if you have enjoyed this, please hit that like button, please subscribe if you are new, please share this on social media if you will. I'd really love to get this in front of a few more people's eyes. It's a slightly different tournament to all those other tournaments that have been going on recently. Something a little bit different that hopefully it's an enjoyable format. Let me know what you think of the way things are set up, this tournament style, etc. down below in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.